Sure. But you're saying if there is an area where it would then affect their foreign policy perhaps, or affect the way they see your part of the world, then that could be something where you'd have to respond.
Sure.
Trump has a much more, let's say, nuanced view of the war in Ukraine than his predecessor did.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Well, nuanced is the way that people have described India's position towards Russia in the last.
That one is okay.
So do you now feel vindicated that you were always right all along on Russia?
No, look, let me walk back a bit. We have felt from the start that even if two countries, two neighbors have differences, even very deep differences, it cannot be settled by recourse to war. Okay. If war has started, you're not going to get, given the situation, you're not going to get a solution out of the battlefield. If you're not going to get a solution out of the battlefield, then the answer is to negotiate. And if you are going to negotiate, it makes sense to negotiate directly rather than through very convoluted signaling.
Sure.
So that's been our position. It wasn't necessarily widely accepted in 2022, but I think a lot of people have come around to that point of view right now. So to the extent the United States today, under President Trump, also is an advocate of the fact that there has to be a negotiated solution. I think there is a sort of a common ground there, but beyond that, I think they would have their view. We are less involved. They are deeply involved in it.
Sure.
We are not.
But as a accomplished diplomat, as a man whose bread and butter is negotiation, when you look at what's happening in that negotiation between Russia and Ukraine right now, do you think we're closer to peace than we were before?
That's hard to say. That's hard to say because, like any negotiation, you can argue that negotiation is better than no negotiation. But a negotiation does not by itself predicate that you will reach an early conclusion.
Another country that is looking to exploit the current, exploit is a loaded word. Another country is looking to find opportunities in the current geopolitical dislocation is China. How does India sort of make sure that it's taking advantage but also keeping an eye on China? How much does China's actions play into yours?
Look, China, it's an obvious fact, but still I have to say it. China is an immediate neighbor.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a neighbor with whom also we have an unsettled boundary. So that's a big factor in our relations. We have a situation where China and India, who stand out because they're the only two countries with over 1 billion people, but also because they are two civilizational states in a way. They have, you see a kind of a parallel rise. The Chinese started their modernization ahead of us because I think we had at that time governments perhaps who didn't do what they should have done in those early years. But be that as it may, you have a rise of China, you have a rise of India.
Sure.
Now each one is creating a certain new equilibrium between them and the world, the rising power in the world. And then a much more complex equilibrium between the two rising powers, who also happen to be neighbors and who sometimes have common neighbors as well.
Yeah.
So it is an incredibly complicated matrix. And there are different dimensions to it. There's the boundary dimension to it. There's the balances, if you would. There are economic issues, trade issues. There are, concerns. I mean, we are in a way different economic, social values, model, political models as
Very
well.
much, yes.
Yeah. So I think when you look at this relationship, it's far more textured and complicated than it would appear at first sight, where people really think that you have this country and that country, and one will balance the other, one will sort of set off the other.
Do you think, I mean, and what you've heard in the last 2 days here, do you think the Europeans are realistic enough about China, or still a bit naive in certain areas?
Well, look, I would honestly would have said no, but I would caveat that answer. I think when I've been coming to Europe, I've come to Europe many years ago, but pretty much continuously now for about 15 years. Okay. Europe 15 years ago, even 10 years ago, was in a very different place. So I would point to a certain evolution in Europe's position and stance. But I would also make the point it's a very differentiated picture. Not all of Europe is obviously moving on the same speed and on the same wavelength. So there are some which have a different view, some who are more hard-headed. I would make that distinction.
Vis-a-vis China now?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like sort of where we were with Russia 15 years ago as well. Europe.
Okay, you said it. I don't disagree.
Yeah. Very good. You've also agreed to take a couple of questions from the audience. We'll take two at the same time. There are floating mics if someone could put their hand up. The quicker you can ask the question, we have a lady here in the second row. If you'd like to just tell the question, I can make sure Dee can hear it.
Can anybody hear?
Yeah, I can hear you, so that's fine.
More important, I can hear you.
Yeah, exactly.
His Excellency, my name is Barçın Haç, I'm from Turkey. I would like to thank you for a quote dating back in 2022 when you said that Europe should grow out of the mentality that Europe's problems are the world's problem, but the world's problem is not Europe's problem. I don't know how many times I have used this quotation, giving respect to the human rights, but the question is, do you see signs that Europe is growing out of that mentality? Because it's really difficult to get out of this mentality.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to ask just one. So, other.
What should be their limitations and assets?
Okay. You have no idea how many times that quotation has been thrown back at me. But I do want to say this, we are now in 2025, and I think there's been a big change where Europe is concerned in these 3 years. In a way, it answers the last question. And here's my point, which is, look, a large part of being on your own, or being part of a multipolar architecture.
Yeah.
One is to sort of realize your own capabilities and limitations and compulsions, and relationships. So you're more self-reliant in a way. But the other part of it is also to try to put yourself in the shoes of the other party. It's not easy to do. Look, I know Russia is a big issue right now. Your last observation was when you asked me, so is that true of Russia as well? To my honest answer to you is, I don't think, I don't think many Europeans had a good sense of how the Russians felt about the relationship or about the direction of events. So when people, say, oh, we didn't see that coming, you normally don't see that coming. I'm not justifying anything, sure. Okay? I'm just saying that in international relations, if you have to be a good practitioner, if you have to do well even for your own country or for your own group of countries, it's smart to try to understand the thinking processes, the interests, the anxieties, the behavioral traits of other parties. And I certainly didn't see that, I would say, in respect of Russia also. So, in fact, often, the narrative you hear from Russia is so starkly different about, let us say, the evolution of Europe after 1992. Europe has one version, or much of Europe has one version. Russia has a very different version. So, the point, the quotation which was recalled was more like, okay, look, worry about the rest of us as well. I mean, we folks in Asia and Africa and Latin America, we're also taking a hit on, at that time, 2022, on energy, on food prices, on fertilizers. So spare some thought to us, and when you make your decisions, factor that in. That was the intent then. But the larger point I would make is, in a multipolar world, one is, of course, in a way, you're more selfish, but you also have to be more realistic and some way smarter in trying to, it's more of a chess game. You've got to see many more moves ahead, which means you've got to be able to have the ability to read the minds of the other players as well.
Mr. Minister, thank you so much for your time.